Hey, man, am I the only one that finds it odd that Pac-12 fans of a school like Utah are still being so defiant, smug, and quite frankly offensive towards the Big 12 conference? I mean, especially when the conference their school currently occupies is on life support and may be extinct at this time next week. The only people claiming that there is any hope whatsoever of a deal being struck that's in the same stratosphere as the deal the Big 12 made with ESPN and FOX for its media rights are the same folks that believed Kevin Warren when he said in 2021 he wasn't going to poach schools from the Pac-12 and ACC. Just a thought, Utes fans. But you might want to allocate some of those AAU funds towards research of a freaking clue. Oh, and that joint statement from Kliavkoff and the remaining 10 board members of the Pac-12 that was released last Monday. I got to tell you, aside from old Porky here and a few of his closest pig pals, that two-sentence wonder didn't quite have the effect that I think they were expecting. ESPN and Amazon are not really going to get close to that $400 million annually that old Georgie boy pretty much promised it would be the year after UCLA and USC in the largest media market walk right on out the door to the Big Ten. It's about half, I think. Yikes. Oh, what to do. Let's talk about it. Let's go! Welcome back to the Hall of Fame College Football Podcast. I'm your host, Jason Watkins, and if you love college football, you're definitely in the right place. So before you forget, smash that red subscriber button, like our videos, and don't forget to ring that bell so that you don't miss one moment of the Hall of Fame College Football Podcast. Folks, as I said in my video yesterday, things are getting even more grim for the Pac-12 conference and that upstanding commissioner, George Kliavkoff, who has just about lost all grip that he had, if he had any anymore, on the conference and its ability to really move the needle whatsoever when it comes to college athletics. But don't tell that to the Utah Ute fans. There's a great many of them that are continuing to, well, it's almost like sticking your head in the sand and or plugging your ears and deciding you're not going to hear it. Except that it's also got just these ridiculous, looking down your nose, petty, ugly things that are being said about the one conference that might keep you relevant, which is just weird to me. Because honestly, up until, just these last few weeks, Utah was like one of the few teams in that conference that I could root for. I mean, you did beat USC twice last year, and I am an Oklahoma fan, so, kind of made me happy. Nevertheless, yeah. And listen, I'm an Oklahoma fan, and we're going to the SEC. So I don't generally take up for much of the Big 12 because there's a bunch of jerks in there too that are going to be left. But I will say this. You have certainly earned the reputation that you're getting right, or that the conference is getting as a whole right now. You have certainly driven it home lately. When you hear things like, there's no way we're going to that flyover conference or the Truckstop conference that Porky said, let me put it up there for you. Things like that. Even in the face of the fact that $40 million that George Kliavkoff claimed he was going to get for the media rights deal, even after even after USC and UCLA are gone, and they reside in the largest media market on the West Coast. It, it has become increasingly apparent that this deal, if you want to call it that, is going to, there's no way you could possibly stay in it if you have any hopes of competing in college athletics at all, and particularly football. And Utah has been the best team in the Pac-12 for the last 2 years. They've won back-to-back Pac-12 championships. Again, they beat USC and Lincoln twice this past season. But if you think that you can keep it together for what looks like is probably going to be no more than $20 million for the media rights deal, I know that that you have that statement was released on Monday saying that that the presidents and Kliavkoff are just, they're all the way ready and excited about. It just seems weird to me. I mean, and Utah is certainly not the only one. They're just the loudest, it seems like, lately. I mean, you've got guys like, Utah Pig Bus Porky and the Utah Football Tailgate saying things like, well, and he was referring to this statement by the Pac-12 universities. And the statement says the 10 Pac-12 universities look forward to consummating successful media rights deals in the very near future. Based on positive conversations with multiple potential media rights partners over the past weeks, we remain highly confident in our future growth and success as a conference and united in our commitment to one another. That forced this tweet from old Mr. Porky, which says, "This is a you idiots in the Big 12 disinformation troll machine spreading false crap from your fake ass sources can just STFU already statement. No one is leaving to go join the Truckstop conference and be in a conference with a bunch of flyover schools." Oh, Porky. That's pretty smart. It's weird. And listen, honestly, this is like one of the, it's fairly I mean, it's not really mild. It's pretty messed up. It's a pretty screwed up thing to say. Pretty offensive. So yeah. Here's the deal. Of all the schools that you would have expected for Utah or to have this elitist temperament, this smug, defiant ugliness towards another conference, I don't think that I would have landed on Utah as being that loud one doing all that. I mean, I get it if you're kind of at your table saying whatever and oh my gosh or whatever. But Utah, folks, you've been in the Pac-12 for 10 minutes. Yeah, I know you won 2 Pac-12 titles in a row, but you've been in there for what, 11 years now? You're not a blue blood. Before that, you were in the WAC and then the Mountain West. And you do have a great coach, but your basketball hasn't been good in forever. You would be joining the best basketball league in the Big 12 because, see, the Big 12 is actually, and the other, and you would actually have here's the thing about the Big 12. The Big 12 is going to be expanding. And no matter what the school is saying publicly, administrators, coaches, everybody, whatever they're saying publicly, there's really not going to be a choice but to hopefully for their sake, they're not just going to go down with the ship in Kliavkoff. Particularly when the Big 12 itself is looking at Utah being one of the four corner schools, as they call it, along with Colorado and Coach Prime, the Arizona schools, which would do nothing but really. I mean, the Big 12 is already the best basketball conference in the country. That would even solidify that even more. Arizona is one of the top programs in the country, period. Bobby Hurley and Arizona State have been on the rise, for the last 3 or 4 years. They're a real program as well. But the main thing would be the football. When Oklahoma and Texas leave, the relevancy of the Big 12 is going to take a hit. There's no doubt about that. But as for Utah, you would think that they would welcome the idea of going in. They look at themselves as much better than BYU. I don't know that that's necessarily true anymore, but they do look at themselves that way. They are able to. They've won back-to-back Pac-12 championships, had 2 losses this past season, and look, for all intents and purposes, once Oklahoma leaves and Texas, because Texas, the way that they recruit, I think that Utah would go into the Big 12 and immediately be the best program. You have the best coach, no doubt about it. I think that Kyle Whittingham is probably at worst top 3, 4 in the country as far as coaches are concerned. He does more with less than anyone. And being in the Big 12 conference, he would even get a better foothold in Texas than he already has. And I think that it would do nothing but make that team stronger. When it comes to Coach Prime, I don't think that and I haven't heard much out of CU lately. I know last year they were being kind of smug about it. My guess is that Coach Prime wants Colorado back in the Big 12. And the truth of it is, as I said a minute ago, there's really not going to be an opportunity. You're not going to have any choice. You're going to have to go somewhere. Because let's say you stay, and let's say somehow let's put it this way. You're not going to have any choice, and let me tell you why. That $400 million that is being sought for each year, that's what Kliavkoff said he valued the conference media rights at. Even without USC and UCLA, who are going to the Big Ten. For the 10 teams, without anybody else, they're looking at, he said $400 million. The ESPN has said, and this is according to Dennis Dodd, it's according to the pro rata agreement that's in the Big 12 media rights deal, the grant of rights deal with ESPN and FOX, the pro rata of additional teams added, Power 5 teams added to the conference later, to the Big 12, would be $20 million a year. And that's exactly what they're offering between Amazon and ESPN. That's exactly what they're offering to stay in the Pac-12. Now, would it bump it up if you got those 4 corner schools to go into the Big 12 and it became a 16-team league, which would be right up there with the SEC and the Big 10 as far as size of the league? My guess is yes, it would. Okay. Is it as strong as the SEC? No. Would it be as strong as the Big 10? On paper, probably not. But I got to tell you, I don't think the Big 10's that good. And I don't know that Lincoln is going to turn USC into a powerhouse again. They still don't play defense. They still don't recruit defense. We're not going to get into that. Overall, even if you're number 3, you are among the powerful conferences. You have one of the best deals, and you're probably going to it seems like it might push it. I've seen reports that it might push it up to as much as $50 million a year per school. They're also talking about adding Gonzaga to the Big 12 for their basketball. Listen, this is the best option. And yet, I'm not exact. This is why I'm really not sure why all this ugliness is out there. I get it that there's, obviously the Utah, all the schools most of them are just being quiet because that's what they've been instructed to do by the Pac-12. Don't talk about it publicly. And they have to show a united front. But at this point, the cat's out of the bag. Everybody knows what it is because of the fact that the pro rata, it was done with the assumption that the Big 12 could expand. And if they do expand, they would be expanding with Pac-12 schools that are, quote, Power 5 schools. $20 million, if that's what they're offering for that extra, that goes to tell you that you're not going to get any more than that for a mostly streaming deal, which is apparently all that's being offered, because the other news out there is not only have Fox pulled out of it, they're not interested. The Pac-12 approached apparently CBS, TBS, NBC. They've all said no, they're not interested. The only two media partners that are even interested at all are ESPN, and that's a cable partner, and then Amazon, which would be all tier one. The tier one part of it would be for Amazon, and that would all be streaming. Apparently, both offers, as of right now, stand at $100 million per year. That would be $10 million per school, per network. So it'd be $20 million per school, which is exactly what they said in the Big 12. Now, if you add value to the Big 12 by adding 4 schools, becoming the same size as the SEC and Big 12, there's a lot of thought out there that it would add value to the point that you would probably hit that 40 million mark, maybe even 50 million. I read that earlier. As of right now, the Big 12's media deal is 31.66 million. That's the base. They're looking at possibly, according to Dennis Dodd, 50 million is a good number. When you figure in bowls, playoff money, the NCAA tournament, which, already they're the best conference in the country for basketball, that's going to bring in more revenue from the NCAA tournament. I'm just saying, this is a sound conference and being led by an absolute rock star of a commissioner who rose that conference from the dead after Oklahoma and Texas decided they were going to the SEC. Under Bob Bowlsby, I've said this on my other videos, they were going to be in the position that the Pac-12 is in. And here's the thing, but here's the whole thing that you need to understand. You had an opportunity to go ahead and kill, if you're the Pac-12 and you're George Kliavkoff, this didn't have to happen. As great as Yormark has done as a commissioner, and he has no background as a athletic commissioner. He's been in entertainment. But as great as he's done, as great as he has done since he's been on the job, and it's been about a year, it took all these missteps by It took all these missteps by George Kliavkoff and the conference in order for him to have an opening. They gave him, as I said in the video yesterday, he got a stay of execution. The league got a stay of execution. And all he did was put his head down and go get it done. Jumping ahead, renegotiating his deal ahead of time, taking that 31.66 million base that he took, knowing that it would get him closer to 45, 50 million. That was a big move because he knew he had the foresight to understand that it was going to get packed. There's only so much space as far as broadcast or terrestrial cable for these games. And without USC and UCLA and the best hope that the Pac-12 is hoping for right now, the best that the Pac-12 can hope for right now in terms of bringing in football schools are San Diego State and SMU, who nobody else is going after to be in a Power 5 conference with. That's the best hope you have. You're not getting there. The best you might do right now, you might be at 20 million. That's half of what Kliavkoff originally thought. But he had an opportunity when Oklahoma and Texas made the announcement that they were going to be going to the SEC. You had Oklahoma State, Baylor, Texas Tech, and TCU, I believe. There was a proposal for them to leave and come to the Pac-12. You turned it down. Your conference presidents turned that down. That would have driven a nail into the Big 12's coffin. And now they're driving nails in yours. You got to get out if you're Utah right now. I mean, you have to bolt if you're Utah. And for God's sakes, shut up already. What are you doing? I mean, I've showed you the one from there. I'm not going to sit here and just show you a bunch of tweets and stuff like that. But this is the kind of narrative and this is the kind of vitriol that you're seeing coming from these schools that, well, Utah, namely, that should be open to the idea of changing conferences, because guess what? You're going to need to. There literally is the only people saying that there's going to be a good deal for the Pac-12, again, are the people that believed Kevin Warren 2 years ago when he said he wouldn't poach schools. Look what happened. ESPN has made it abundantly clear what they're offering, $10 million a season. It's $100 million a year. Same with Amazon. And Amazon is only streaming. Most people don't want to stream. This is not a very good idea. It's not something that you can probably withstand. And particularly in college football, and if you're Utah, and to me, you're probably on the verge of particularly with the playoff expanding to 12 teams. Right now, you're on the verge of competing for national championships. If you stay in this Pac-12 for much longer, you're going to fall off a cliff because you just won't be able to. Look, Ohio State has already canceled its series with Washington that was supposed to start in this 2023-2024, one of the two. But either way, what does that tell you? It tells you that it wasn't worth it to them for the recruiting to even keep that game. They even paid $500,000 to break the contract. It's worth that to them to just play the conference games instead. Add an extra conference game or whatever. And then you recruit out of Southern California. Folks, if you're Utah, you better hope as a Utah fan that people are smarter than some of these people on Twitter and even calling into a lot of these live shows and stuff, or putting stuff in the comment section of lives. Like I saw on 365 the other day, these guys are the guys on 365 Sports were actually saying that they had no ill will towards the Pac-12. They weren't hoping for their demise or anything like that. And they were still getting comments that were just ugly. I'm not even going to repeat all of them. It's crazy too. All I would tell you is you better hope that the people that are running the school are smarter than those folks. Because, for Pete's sake, you're not going to the Big Ten. Let's just make that clear. Here's the other thing, and this is something that I heard this from another creator, and I'm wondering about it myself now, and I haven't been able to confirm this. But I'm wondering why it is that everybody thinks if you're an AAU school that isn't tied to your athletic conference in any way. Athletics are for athletics. I don't see, and I also haven't seen anything that's, I mean, I know the narrative is out there that if you leave the Pac-12, you're going to lose that research money, which some people say is like upwards of 300 million a year per school. I don't know what it is. But the AAU is not even, it has nothing to do with the NCAA. The athletic conferences, I don't see why you would lose that just because you're going to play sports in a conference. Why would you lose your AAU status? So that's another one of these things that people keep screaming about that, well, no, the athletic money isn't even worth what the AAU money is. They don't have anything to do with each other. I don't think that they have anything to do with each other. And from what I can understand, there's a lot of people that are saying the same thing. It's just that it's not being said out loud from the Pac-12. And obviously, the Big Ten's probably not saying anything about it. I don't know. What I can tell you is that Nebraska was already in AAU. They didn't lose their AAU status until recently because of I guess because of some facilities that they didn't have. Had nothing to do with athletics, but they were already in AAU school before they went to the Big Ten. So I don't understand why you wouldn't keep that status and keep your funding when it came to the research funding. I don't think one has anything to do with the other. It's just something to think about. But I don't know. I certainly wouldn't understand why Utah, after all those years of being a G5 program and wanting so badly to be in a power conference, this I can tell you now, even if you add SMU and SDSU, you're not going to be a better conference than the Big 12 when it comes to sports. Either sport that makes money, basketball or football. You're not. If you somehow think you're going to get in there and steal Gonzaga away from the Big 12, I've heard that lately. I think that's almost a done deal. And I think it's pretty clear that Brett Yormark is playing chess while your boy Georgie, he's playing checkers. I think I would maybe try to get on board with this a little more and maybe try to make up with some of these folks in the Big 12 because my guess is you'll be there before long. And won't be a great welcome at most of these stadiums with a lot of the stuff you folks are saying. Hey, I hope everybody let me know what you think about this. Tell me where I'm wrong because I haven't not seen. And if you can tell me that the AAU money isn't connected or is connected to the conference that you're in for the athletics, show me where that's at because I don't buy it. It doesn't make even the slightest amount of sense. And quite frankly, this ridiculous narrative that the schools on the West Coast are so superior academically to schools in Texas and throughout wherever the rest of the Big 12 is, that's silly talk. Absolute silly talk. I don't buy it for 1 second. It's not true. Some of the best institutions in the world, in the country, are right there in the Big 12. So I don't want to hear that. And again, uh, if you can show me that the AAU is connected to your athletic conference, please send me the link as to what you can put it in the comments. I'd love to see it. Folks, if you would like to support the show for all my subscribers, make sure you hit the like button and the subscriber if you would. You can help support the show for free by just hitting that like button and subscribing to the program. If you'd like to help us continue putting out this content week after week, you can support us with tips, which is right here below me, through Venmo, through Cash App, or you can just hit that super chat heart. You can also buy podcast merchandise. We have some cool new merchandise in there. As you can see on the screen there, you've got the emojis with the horns down. And And then so you can definitely get in there, get some of that stuff for you folks, Oklahoma fans, things like that. Also, anybody who wants to use our Fanatics partner store link, that will get you up to 65% off everything on Fanatics. All you got to do is just use the link right above me here on this side, and you get up to 65% off. Sometimes it's free shipping, sometimes it's other stuff like that, but make sure that you go check that out. No matter what team that you're a fan of, just using that link will get you that. We get a small commission for everything you purchase through the link. You get the great deals better than you would even get on your own. So take a look at that. And again, let me know what you think about this. I have a feeling that I the people that I heard this from, I tend to trust them. I haven't seen anything definitive the other way. And the only things that I know that a lot of people would just assume that it's linked into the conference, but the conference again is an athletic conference. It's not an academic conference. So the AAU is separate from the Pac-12 and the Big Ten, but they both have it. I mean, and the Pac-12 has AAU schools, as does the Big Ten. So it doesn't make a lot of sense to me that you wouldn't have that. I understand that the Big Ten it was a Big Ten requirement that you be an AAU school for you to join, according to last year. But I mean, they're not kicking Nebraska out, and they lost their AAU status. So it doesn't make sense to me that it's something that has to happen. Let me know what you think, though. If you can show me that I'm wrong, I'd be happy to say so. We will see you on the next one. Thanks for stopping by.